Hey, it's Nathan here from HorrorHound. Thought it would be fun to post an update today in the form of a video, particularly showcasing how the book is being designed and laid out. Now, what you're going to see here is definitely not the final book. Most of the articles, the write-ups, the history, interviews haven't been plugged in yet. There's a lot of dummy text. Backgrounds are going to go through some modifications, a lot of cleanup on things. So the main point of showing this video is to showcase how figuring out what exists is almost more important than actually designing the book, because you can't design the book until you know exactly what exists. So that's what I've been working on since, my whole life, but for the most part, I'm building a spreadsheet and database since probably around April. Finalizing how many issues per title, what titles exist, how many variant covers, but also trying to figure out, is the book going to be laid out in a chronological order, an alphabetical order? To me, it felt like the book needed to be told in more of a chronological order, from the beginning, the days of Dell and Charlton Gold Key Comics, going into Marvel, and eventually finding your way to the modern stuff with Dynamite and IDW. But just to give you an idea, I'll just scroll through and show you some of the page designs. And again, none of this is final. Backgrounds, captioning, even these little white boxes around the comics and the articles are going to go through some adjustments. But the purpose of laying it out like this right now is to make sure it's all going to fit in 240 pages. And also to give me a good sense of how much space I can have fun with. And when I say fun, I mean how many interviews can I put in there? You know, we're talking to people like Simon Bisley and John Bolton. And like to talk with some other people. We've talked with Mike Mignola in the past. So, you know, trying to get some of their input and how important adapted horror movie comic books are. But this is Night of the Living Dead. And this is a great example of how crazy this book is. How exhaustive it can be. You start off with the earliest stuff that was released back in the 90s from Fantico, and you start getting into Dead Dog Publishing. They didn't do a lot, but they had a hand, and you want to make sure that the layout's done in a manner to where each company has their own stuff in their own section. You want it to flow nice. You definitely want to try to get some more higher quality photos, larger photos. That's Night of the Living Dead #1 from Avatar, the comic series, the beginning. Avatar got the license and they did a lot. So I'll just skim through here real quick and you can see Avatar did a lot. And I mean a lot. But this is this is another good example of why laying out the book before we know how much text needs to fill out the rest of the space is important, because you can see there's some dead space down here at the end of the last page. That's great. I love that, because that's going to allow me more space to talk about Avatar and their various miniseries. Because each one of these, this is not one long recurring comic book. This is a series of comics, miniseries. And each one, Avatar averaged maybe 5 covers per issue. Always did fun ones, sub covers, gore covers. Sometimes they did some more photographic covers, but companies like Avatar and Dynamite Entertainment, even IDW or Boom, they would get into a lot of variant covers. You can eat a lot of page space with that. So just tracking that stuff down really gives you an idea of how many pages just Night of the Living Dead by itself is going to kill of the 240-page book. But look at that artwork. I mean, I use the term kill. In reality, it's nice. Some of this stuff is just beautiful artwork. The quality talent that was involved in this series. They really should be commended, and you want to give these covers as much respect and spotlight as you can. And you know, that's going to be one of the big tricks is I'm very close to filling out the entire book. If it turns out that I have extra pages, I can come back here and maybe show a you know, take one of the better covers. Not that any are better than the others, but you can take one of the covers and maybe show it a little bit bigger. Maybe even a little bit bigger than that. So there's those elements that still need to be worked out. But you know, I think we've shown a preview. 2000 Maniacs, Aircell. They did a few things. Blood Feast, Scum of the Earth. There was other stuff, but we're trying to stick to just the horror. That's a big blank page for a chapter break. The big boy, Nightmare on Elm Street. That one's going to be a lot of fun. Marvel did a comic magazine series. Innovation got their hands on it. Eternity did a fun comic one-shot. Then Avatar, and Avatar, just like Night of the Living Dead, they did a bunch of variant covers. Unfortunately, they didn't have the license for that long. Wildstorm got a hold of Elm Street, and you'll find Freddy Krueger show up in other places like Freddy, Jason, Ash. Miniseries, Hellraiser, that's a big license. But Marvel had a subsidiary called Epic, and they were doing a lot of this stuff. That's a beautiful cover right there, what John Bolton did. We definitely spoke with him about that. And you know, it just gives you a nice sense of how it's going, how many comics you're looking at, how the artwork is being displayed. And like I said, the goal is to show some of the stuff bigger, and we'll be able to make those determinations when we get closer to the end. There's Hellraiser's extensive line from Boom. Again, I mean, Hellraiser just had beautiful covers, no matter who was tackling it. The Thing, that was on our Kickstarter preview page. Toxic Avenger was as well, but we delve into Toxic Avenger's journey through trauma comics. They had their own comic book series, as well as the Devil's Due trade paperback, Puppet Master. This one's a big title right here. Puppet Master. They were produced by Eternity Comics back in the day. They also did Demonic Toys, Dollman, Subspecies for Full Moon. And this is where the chronological versus, you know, alphabetical, or even the concept of putting the book in order from chapter breakdowns. Do you want all the Full Moon stuff in one place? In my mind, the current stuff that's being done, I think Action Zone had done some comics. Full Moon launched their own comic book series. That modern stuff I feel should be later in the book, and all this stuff from the 90s, Trauma and The Thing, all those, I feel like they should be kind of together, and then Full Moon comics later. We do make a couple exceptions, as you saw Hellraiser here. I felt like all the Hellraisers should be together. But then it starts bringing up other arguments. Does Nightbreed need to be with Hellraiser? There was a Nightbreed Hellraiser crossover comic book. Then you have Rawhead Rex. It's it's a lot to tackle. But we're working on it. We'll get through it. And Re-Animator, that's one of my favorites. Can't get enough Re-Animator. He had you know, there's some determinations also when you hit titles like Re-Animator. Some of these are licensed from the film. Some are just based on the old short stories by H.P. Lovecraft. But the reality is, anyone who draws Herbert West, they're trying to draw Jeffrey Combs. So there, you see some empty spaces there. That's just because, from an interpretation standpoint, I'm still making a decision. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? But You get also to some points where you have to get clever. There's page sharing, Psycho, Freaks, Plan 9, just on this spread right here. Freaks is one of my favorite finds of the entire book. But once we fit everything in, and like I said, we're getting close, but once we fit everything in and we have extra space, maybe I get to find out, oh, I can give Freaks its own page. I can give Psycho its own page. And we'll work from that. What I'm really excited about is if we find out we can give Freaks its own page or Psycho its own page, then we're able to do more in-depth article, more in-depth history of who wrote it, what the story was about, things like that. Some of that, you know, we'll touch on it, but only where it's really important are we going to start telling you the plots. Because the reality is you should be buying these comic books, reading them, and seeing what they're all about. But talking to the talent, that's something we're working on. And this is an example of what chapter breaks are going to be like. So this kind of will introduce you to the next section of the book. So this one is where movies started getting made of comics, and these are some of the adapted comics directly based off that. And that'll lean towards like Ghostbusters, which got adapted comic books, and take you in a little bit more modern. And as you go on, you'll get more and more modern until you start hitting stuff like Hatchet and Krampus and Trick or Treat. But I just thought that this was a, you know, we're day 3, entering day 3 of the Kickstarter, and maybe we, you know, need to show you some more of the book. Why not do it on day 3? I'll continue posting videos like this, and I'll show you more previews as the Kickstarter goes on. But if you like what you see, this is just a taste. This is just a taste. And we can make it a reality. If you've backed the Kickstarter, thank you. Work's not done. Still need to get it to 25,000. And that's completely doable. We're just now entering day 3. But if you've backed the book, the work's not done. Share it to your friends, share it to your neighbors, share it to your family, share it to the guy who bags your groceries. Just get the word out. Keep getting the word out. I'll be harassing people on social media and online, and doing some podcasts and other things like that over the next month. But hopefully my scrolling through hasn't made you nauseous. Hopefully you've enjoyed what you've seen. And until next time, keep sharing the link, www.halftonehorrors.com. Thanks a lot.